It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Sustainable Living Made Easy, and we're here with Glenn Boblitz. And Glenn, you know, I'm always intrigued by where we're going. Last time we talked, and I thought it was very creative of you, I want to talk about what it takes to put a BLT together. So let's talk about the infrastructure that gets you to the bacon, the lettuce, the tomato, and the bread. So what's this week hold for us?
All right, this week, I can't believe a whole year's flipped over since we talk about, spring fever, how it always hits.
Yeah.
You know, in January, you get a first warm day, which is coming up today and tomorrow, and I'm thinking people just going to go nuts, buy a bunch of plants, stick it out, and frost kill it all. So it's time to start looking at your gardens and things again.
Right.
There are some things you could start inside. We used to do a little more in the latter part of February in the little greenhouse we have, but Virginia weather's so fickle.
I know.
You could have a fabulous year because you got a month's head start, or you could have the worst year you had because it killed everything you put out. And you got to start over. So pick your poison.
Right.
Take your chances. That's that. But there's a to-do list you could start on it if you want it, and you could do it in your living room with a nice big window, or with something that's going to get a little sun in. Some people have put up these hoop houses. I've seen
hoop houses.
Hoop house, just a plastic, a metal frame with plastic covering it.
Okay.
Cold frames, which is just a big window that's in a box on the ground. And what that does is keeps the frost off of it. But if we have temperatures like we just had, it's toast. If it's 13 degrees outside, it's going to be 16 degrees in that little cold frame, and ain't going to make it. But at any rate, there's a lot of little options for this. They've got these flats or planter trays that have covers for them now.
Okay.
It didn't used to have that. You had to kind of make your own, and you still could.
Sure.
But those are an option. And some of the things that you can plant like that for this upcoming spring would be like onion seeds. You can actually get onion seeds and start your own. They'll come up. It'll be just, about the size of a lead pencil, the interior of a lead pencil.
Right.
And then you just plant those and you get a start on it. But, most people just buy onion sets.
Okay.
But they go very quickly. You know what I mean? Some of these stores will only get certain amount.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And if they're selling them by the pound, boom, they're gone.
Sure.
Because we go through a lot of onions. I don't know if your house does or not. But
well, we do,
We go through a lot of onions.
Yeah. Onions are quite an amazing vegetable of sorts,
Absolutely.
Lots of uses.
Leeks. I don't know if you've ever had leeks or grown leeks.
I haven't grown them, but I've had them.
They're very mild. Things like chives, lettuces, of course, you can start those pretty early. They're pretty tolerant. You can, get a jump start on it, and they may last 3 or 4 months. Lettuce is one of those things that if you get a pretty hot spell, they'll bolt, and then it's done. Once it tries to flower, they turn bitter and you can't eat it. So, so you replant. That's the best thing to do. Just pull them. If they've all bolted, pull them up and redo it again. They'll take off again. Of course, spinach, parsley, and kale. We hear a lot about dried and powdered kale. You ever tried that? I did. I was not a fan. Now I like some of the fresh kale.
Yes.
There's one that's Russian blue curly leaf kale. That stuff is hot as wasabi.
Really?
You wouldn't think.
I never would have thought.
There's like 20 varieties of kale, but it's got a turnipy, spicy flavor to it. But that blue Russian kale, it'll light you up. It'll clear your sinuses, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
I'm going to have to check that out.
That's actually a good one for you. Swiss chard. I think people like Swiss chard just because of the colors you get out of it. You ever see that? It looks like a rainbow color. There'll be red, orange, purples, yellows, all within the same little grouping.
Okay.
And they look really good in a salad, and of course they taste good.
Sure.
And tatso, you know what that is?
Nope.
Me neither. It's actually it's like bok choy.
Okay.
Kind of looks like a little bit like spinach, but it kind of tastes like the bok choys.
Okay.
So I just run across that and said, that even sounded cool.
Yeah, true.
Ordering plants, you know, you can order about any time of year, but you're not going to get them until they start digging these bare root plants or potting these plants. Mm-hmm. So if you get your order in early, you're far better off, especially if you're buying larger stuff.
Okay.
Bare root trees, berry bushes, those kind of things. They dig up in the spring, repot, and they have them for about 2 to 3 weeks, and they keep a check on them, and then they put them out for sale. So it's a big operation. I don't know. I mean, they'll have millions of trees, those fruit trees or whatever kind of trees, you know, and some of them are supplying the big box stores. So
okay, gotcha.
They want to be as efficient as they can.
Sure.
But that stuff sells out so fast nowadays.
Interesting.
I don't know whether they're not doing as many or more people are getting into it.
Yeah, I was going to say more people are becoming more aware.
By the looks of the big box stores and the garden centers, people are planting more, those kind of things, you know, and whether they're taking care of them or not, that's another story. But
right.
That's a benefit to everybody becoming kind of preppy, you know, not preppy.
Well, no, I know what you mean.
Two different things.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're just getting into it.
Yes.
And not just as a apocalypse prepper, you know, just because they want better food.
Sure.
That's how I got started. I just wanted better food.
Right.
And there's something to be said between planting an apple tree and planting a shade tree.
Okay.
You know, you go, okay, I can get shade out of the apple tree and pick an apple, and that's kind of an enticement to do these things. Then they find out they got to prune it and all this kind of stuff and shape it and talk to a guy named Glenn to figure out whether they're doing it right and why it won't bloom, why it won't set fruit. So there's a little bit to it. So, but my point here is order your stuff early.
Yeah.
Get your order in, get a confirmation. That way they know how much to dig, how much they're going to have to produce, how much they're going to have to put out.
Sure.
I mean, these are all businesses that are doing this stuff. Same way with your seed inventory, my little chat group that we're in, prepping group, whatever you want to call it. We're having lots of seed conversations. Who's the best and who do they like, and did I have a good experience with them? Did you have good germination rates? All that kind of stuff. There's quite a few of them. Ask around, get in these chats, and see what you think.
Yeah,
and what I found out is our little program is starting to get into these other states, and I'm starting to get questions and things like that and comments from outside states. So you're going to have to find people that maybe are in your area.
Right.
And when you're ordering all these bushes, seeds, plants, trees, whatever it is, always look at the zone. Make sure that the zone is for us, you know, like a 7A, 7B, especially for fruit trees.
Okay.
Some areas it's just too humid.
I see.
Some of the peach varieties don't do well here.
Okay.
Some of the apple varieties do great here, some don't. So you look at them, and you got to do a little research on these things, but your zone is pretty critical for us, you know. You can't buy the same as you would for Maine.
Okay.
They just don't like our heat and
right.
humidity.
That makes sense.
All right, so
And can I just
go ahead.
Inquire about these chats, getting in the chats, because that may be better than the reviews can be almost, you know, put there by the company. Get in the chat rooms and talking to different people because they've experienced it, and that'll save you some heartache and
Absolutely.
some time.
You see, some of that things that they put out especially on their own website, these seed companies, reviews. So, some of those are plants, and we all get that, and I wish they wouldn't do it.
Right.
But in a chat, you can ask.
Right.
And somebody may be brutally honest, or they go, okay, they're okay. Or they may say, this is the best company I've ever dealt with.
Right.
So, pick your poison on those too. You just, you got to do your research on everything that we do here.
Yeah.
Trust but verify, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Reagan made that famous, didn't he, with Gorbachev?
And the thing about you getting into one of these chats, and depending on how active you are, you're going to run into people that really know their stuff. And then you're going to run into the other end of the spectrum, but you got to expect that. Welcome to your community. And you may be able to help someone else. So get in there, get involved, learn something. Soil pH test. You can buy them at Lowe's. You can send a box of it off and have your local county extension agent give you a full report, not just your pH, but it'll tell you how much nitrogen in your soil, and some of them do a little better job and do a full spectrum of everything that's in your soil. So that's a good thing to do, so whether you may need to sweeten the soil up because it's too acidic, or bring it down because it's too alkaline. So a pH is a good indicator. Everybody tries to hit that 7.0 mark. It can go up as high as 14 or down as low as 3 on pH. 3 would be very acidic, 14 would be very alkaline, and if you got those two extremes, you're in trouble. But more than likely you don't. And it doesn't have to be a perfect 7. Some plants like a little bit lower, like a 6.8. So pH.
Okay.
Learn about that pH and what it means, and what groups of plants like a little more acid, which plants like a little more alkaline. Do a little research, get you a test kit, find out what you got. And if you still have questions, come to the website and to the Facebook page and drop me a question. And shoot, I'll answer it for you.
Okay.
Compost piles. Anybody that's got a compost pile, even though it's wintertime, good time to flip it over.
Okay.
Now, whether that's done with a pitchfork or your little tractor, either one, give it a good flip. You're putting oxygen back into it. Yes, you're going to stir up some of your microbes, and they're going to flip out, but they'll go back down. It's kind of cool at night, so they'll bury back down. Just don't do it too cold. If it's freezing out, I wouldn't recommend it, but a good warm day, and you flip your compost, and that'll speed things back up again. So the next thing I'd like to see you do is to invest in yourself and your little circle. You probably have a circle, whether you know it or not, if you're doing any kind of gardening things. You got people in your family, or if you're lucky enough to have your grandparents still around and they still like to garden, that's a great resource. Bring them in a little closer.
Okay.
You be doing them a favor as well as them doing you a favor, I can tell you that. There's so many articles online that you can go to and just absolutely educate yourself a lot. You don't need to go to the college to get some of this stuff. It's all online. Just read one gardening article per day. If you did that, you'd be surprised how much you could pick up in a month's time. And it starts to make a little more sense on especially nutrients and that kind of thing, which is big. And the microbial world. We have very little knowledge worldwide of what's growing under the ground besides roots. There's a whole other world under there, and you really should understand it. If you want to be a farmer of any kind, the first kind of farmer you should be a microbe farmer. You should be really concentrating your money and efforts onto having living soil. microbes, fungi, all those are so important. And maybe you won't need to throw as much chemical fertilizer on it because they can produce it, but you got to feed them.
Yeah.
You may not have to throw as much pesticides on your field because they will take care of it. I mean, there is there's so many microbes in the soil.
Right.
1 cubic centimeter could hold 1 billion of them.
Oh my gosh.
And they're distributed to the soil. But if you're dumping a bunch of chemicals, they're not there. They're very sensitive little animals, and they will die in a heartbeat if you beat them up, if you poison them. And we try not to do that at all. We try to give them an environment where we don't need to put chemicals to control pest populations. Most pests that damage your garden come in because the garden is weak, because that plant is weak. Well, then that means we need to strengthen the plant and the plant's immune system. Well, guess where that all comes from? The nutrients, and guess who brings that? The microbes. Do you see a little circle going on here? And that's what I'm telling you. The more you spray your plants, the more you have to spray your plants. That's what's wrong with industrial farming right now. They've absolutely wore the soil out, killed the microbes, and the microbes are what's bringing up the nutrients, the micronutrients, that cause plants to have an immune system. Give those nutrients the ability to fight off infection, to fight off disease. You've circumvented that system, which was a perfect system if you quit screwing it up.
Right.
And that's the way, most of our problems, we had a good system, we just screwed it up. But
Can I interject something here?
Absolutely. I'm tired of talking anyway.
And then we're going to go into break.
Okay.
Bobby Kennedy is going to be going up in front of, our high and mighty senators here in the next day or so. I think this is a guy that gets it. I mean, I know he's got some interesting views on some things, but who doesn't?
Right.
Who doesn't have a view or two that I would say, that's kind of out there? I think Bobby Kennedy, if he can get approved, and I hope he does, because it shows another strength of Donald Trump. You don't have to always have played on my team. You might have been on the other team.
Right.
But now you're playing on our side. I think he could help straighten out some of the silliness with the heavy chemicals, because that's what he talks about. He studied it. He seems to be well-versed on some of this. And you and I both know the machine that is out there, the pharmaceutical machine,
right,
the food industry machine. They want to squash anybody that gets in the way of them turning the kind of profits they've turned for decades.
Big pharma, big ag, any of those.
Right. And he's going to fight both of them if he gets approved.
Well, he's going to have a big fight because they have a big lobby.
Yes, they do.
Which I think we need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, I mean, Trump's only been in a week.
Right, I know.
So I'll give him an extra week.
Well,
they
that. Said, J.D. Vance is awesome. On the weekend shows, man, he just slayed him. They said, he said he was going to bring down prices. And he says, Martha, he's been in 5 days. And may I note here, he's done more in 5 days than the previous president did in 4 years. So it's going to take some time to turn this thing around.
Doink right.
Oh, man.
I was like,
I think he's going to get, they're going to cut back on the invitations to have, because I think there's always some smart, a smart out there who thinks they can outwit the guy. I'm sorry, he's too good on his feet.
They're used to people that are unprepared.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're going to go in battle with somebody that argues for a living, you better be prepared.
Yeah.
And they were not ready for him because he was eye to eye with them.
Yep.
Now he was not combative whatsoever.
No, he was nice about it.
And he just drilled them, and they were just stunned.
Yeah.
We've got a whole different government right now.
Yeah, we do. God, I hope we can
as
keep
early
it.
As early as it is, it's a whole different government.
Yeah.
people are going to notice just like we are.
Yeah.
And they're going to step their game up too. Don't think this fight is over by no means.
Right. Yeah. They're going to find the right people.
They're going to marshal their
case.
resources just as we are. And I'm tired of saying we and them.
Yeah.
How about us?
Yeah. How about us?
Trump's trying that.
How about us take a break here?
Okay, yeah.
And we'll be back with Glenn Ballblitz. You're listening to Sustainable Living Made Easy.
Get ready for a new soundtrack for your life. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake. It's music that'll take away your troubles for a while.
That's what I'm talking about!
Wake up with Janet and Mark on the Morning Jam. They'll keep you informed and encouraged, and we all need more of that.
You say jam?
You're invited to be a part of the Doc Rock family, your feel-good station. Doc Rock, Smith Mountain Lake.
We're back with more Sustainable Living with Glenn Ballblitz. Be sure to look for Sustainable Living on Facebook for even more information and follow-up conversations with other members. Now, here's your host, Mark Lamb.
Back with Glenn. We went a little political there because I wanted to talk about
You
Bobby.
can't help it. I mean, if you're not talking about this.
Well, they got the claws and everything.
It is just, one good thing after another. We haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah.
50 years, 100 years.
Yeah.
I'm a dyed-in-the-wool conservative.
Me too.
And do I think Trump is perfect? And I hear this a lot. No, we don't.
No.
But he's, by God, the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
At 64 years old, I've seen a few.
Yeah, sure.
But he's the best I've ever seen.
And can I say something about the word conservative? It deranges. It comes from the word conserve.
True.
We want to conserve resources. We want clean water. The idiots that keep saying we're for dirty water, you're an ass. I'm sorry. We want to do, the businesses and industries, many of them, like let's say the lumber industry, they've been replanting for decades. Don't tell them what they need to do. They've been doing it for 60, 70, 80 years. You dimwit.
Well, they use talking points with just enough truth in them to make them sound good.
Right.
But it's bad information,
right.
Disinformation. You're not going to stop these people from lying.
Right.
You're not going to do it. It has become a habit and a profitable habit.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Best thing you can do is quit listening to them.
Right.
Is just absolutely call them out and say, I don't believe you anymore.
Yeah, I just turned you off.
Yep. There
and a lot of people
went your ratings, and ask CNN how that worked out for
my
them.
gosh,
Right.
they've laid off 200 people.
Well,
they're being sued again,
enough.
and they got sued a couple of times. They've lost some big cases because
they should.
Yeah,
we're finally getting some judicial justice.
Yes,
the two-tier system is still in full
shrinking
force
a bit,
but it's shrinking.
Yeah.
So
speaking of
we'll do better.
Of shrinking, you were talking earlier about people right now are planting or getting ready to plant. They're doing their research right now to get ready for spring. We talked about onions and leeks. What are some of those maybe other ones, or take it in whatever direction you want to go? What are maybe some of those things that we enjoy that tend to get bought up right away?
Tomato plants. There's a lot of people that have tomato plants, and don't put these things out too early. I mean, you can buy them early, but you check your almanac. A lot of people use that. It's historical data with averages. Well, problem with Virginia, it's not been too average. We're getting these wild swings for whatever reason. So the longer you wait, the better off you are in some cases. Ground temperature is one of the big ones. And that's what I was talking about in research. You could plop a tomato plant in the ground and it'll sit there because the ground's not warm enough.
Right. So
it's just going to sit there. And then you're subject to have a frost come through one and kill everything you've planted.
Right.
At $5, $6, $7 a piece. You put out 10 of them, you go, well,
yeah, that's a lot of money.
Shouldn't have done that.
Sure.
So wait a little bit is a good thing to plant them, but waiting to buy them may not be, because some people are just really getting into this, and I've noticed it, that just certain varieties just seem to take off,
Well, can we address this? Janet and I talked about this on the show that we do, Morning Jam, heard on Doc Rock, 6 to 9, Monday through Friday. Say, shameless self-promotion.
You're allowed.
But we were talking about using drywall buckets. A lot of people are doing planting. What are the best things to plant in buckets if that's what you're limited to? And you can get drywall buckets, people. We talked about this on the show.
Sure.
At job sites. They stack them up 10 high. You can get them for nothing.
You can sew up a burlap bag and grow in it. Some people even grow in a trash bag. I don't recommend that because they just get too hot too fast.
Yeah, they can't really breathe
and
either.
And they can't breathe because the root system needs oxygen. But these netty bags that they have, burlap bags, you can actually buy plant bags that are just for that to growing. And it allows them to breathe. And what happens is the water evaporates out of them, which carries away the heat. Because if you get too much heat, it's just as bad as very low temperatures.
Cooking it.
So,
And buckets now, so lest I contradict myself,
they have to have drainage in them.
Yes, I was going to say.
You should have a layer of rocks in the bottom.
Yes.
So, roots will drown. Everybody thinks that certain plants like a lot of water. That's true. But too much anything's bad for you.
Sure.
You drink too much water, you'll get sick. Same way with your plants. You plant too much water on them, love them to death, and they'll drown. So your buckets have to have drainage. I think it's sacrilegious to drill a hole in a 5-gallon bucket because I collect those buckets, and a good bucket is harder to find.
Right.
And now they sell them. Lowe's and Home Depot, they $5-6 a piece. But a drywall guy, he's got a bunch of them.
He does.
And I've seen on Marketplace, now he sells them. Okay, $2 a piece. The guy cleans your bucket up. Go get some. You can get a hold of these landscape companies that are planting trees and bushes and stuff during the spring. They have tons of pots. Now, you're going to have to wash them. Give them a little bleach bath so there's no pathogens coming into your plant.
Okay. But
a nice big pot will do well for, patio tomatoes. You should probably cover the pot if it's a black pot.
Okay.
If it's sitting on your patio concrete, that's another thing. You probably should jack it up a little bit so it's not directly to the concrete.
Even a couple pieces of 2x4 would be okay?
Anything to jack it up
to
get it off that concrete, because it's going to start transferring that heat straight up to those root systems.
Okay.
And they don't care for it.
Right.
But a black pot, if you can put your hand against a black car, how hot is it?
Oh, yeah.
Same way,
Sure.
same principle.
Sure.
So I've seen them wrap them in aluminum foil, and that reflects the heat, but it's still the ambient temperature is going to keep it whatever it is. If it's 75 out, the dirt's going to be 75, and plants like that. But they don't like 95.
Right. I don't like 95.
They just go into a self-preservation mode when you do that, so you're not getting a lot of growth anyway, but you're going to have to water them. If it's a black pot, or especially the netty pots, anything that's a fibrous net, you're going to have to water them quite a bit.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt a plant to have a little dry spell. When I say dry spell, 1 day.
Okay.
To allow and what that's going to do is bring in oxygen. As the water goes out, it's bringing in the oxygen to displace the water that left. So, if you've got a routine about, taking care of your plants when you come home in the evening, great. Here's a little hint, though, on young plants, in any plant. If you've sprayed it with water, it should have enough time, enough sunlight to dry off before the sun goes down.
Okay.
So mildews and funguses and things don't grow on the surface of the plant and kill your plant. That's especially serious for young seedlings.
Okay.
If you're watering late evening and they don't get a chance to dry off, they'll get a wilt, and it just kills them. They'll just fall over, starting a root rot, and that'll be the end of it. So try to do your watering or your misting or your spraying early morning where you know it's going to dry out throughout the day. Means you're going to have to get up 15 minutes early.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sucks, but I like that extra 15 minutes. But okay, for your plants, we'll do it. Let's encourage some more people to start planting, whether it's your family, friends, or neighbors. Not just because we're prepping for apocalypse, we're strengthening their immune system. People
Right.
don't understand that if the soil is bringing up these micronutrients to you, and that's where your immune system comes from, straight through your gut. 80% of your immunes come through your gut, not out of the pharmacy, not out of some vitamin store. It's through that plant.
When you look at dog kibbles, everything has been cooked out in a sense.
Well,
that's why
someone says it's dead food.
it's dead food.
It is.
So we can look at a very colorful plate of something, just fill in the blank.
Right.
It could be half dead or 3/4 dead because of the processing that even goes into some of our vegetables and fruits, certainly
Yes.
our meats.
Flour, that's a good example. Most of the good stuff out of the wheat is gone. You know, what you pretty much end up with is just a gluten and a starch.
Right.
Okay, it'll make pretty bread, but it's really not the nutritionist bread you should
Right.
have, as opposed to these artesian breads.
Right.
Those still have all the wheat germs and things
Right.
in it that your body needs
Yeah.
and wants.
Yeah.
If you've ever had a craving for something, it's because you're lacking something in your diet.
Does that include ice cream? I'm just kidding.
If it's organic, yes. You know, did you milk the cow? You know, this is like that BLT.
Right, exactly.
You know, did you milk the cow? Did you raise the eggs? Did you grow the strawberries to put in for strawberry ice
Man,
cream?
after you've told me about the whole strawberry thing, I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Well, there's a reason that they can grow that many strawberries that big.
Look at your arm and look at the amount of pores you have just on your forearm.
Yeah.
A strawberry has that many or more, and because
And the little
of the
dimples
chemicals,
that you see in a strawberry are perfect pockets for pesticides.
Yeah.
And the skin is very thin, so it absorbs right in.
Yeah.
The dirty does, and we talked about it.
Yeah.
That's an ugly subject. We won't even go
No,
there today.
yeah.
Not today.
end on a positive note here.
Yeah. All right, planning. Encourage someone to grow. Someone, even if you're just, especially if you're planting your own stuff, you ended up with an abundance of whatever, and maybe you don't talk to your neighbor, or maybe you do, and it'd be better if you took it to a stranger. That you just know from a distance,
Right.
but you don't really know them. I mean, they don't look like a Viking or anything, but walk down to their house, knock on their door and say, look, I grew way too many of these. Would you like some?
Yeah.
And they go, we don't garden. How about if I just plant it right in your flower bed right here? Put one on each side of your porch stoop,
Right.
and you'll have peppers at your front door.
Yeah.
You know, that's a spark. That's planting the seeds.
In more ways than one.
In
Yeah.
more ways than one.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do. And you might find a good resource or a good, intelligent person that can
Sure.
help you out in the future. You never know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Plant something for the bees.
Oh, we got to have a whole show on bees.
Yeah, well, actually, there's a lot of bee classes going on, more than I've ever seen in my whole life. It just has just exploded. Exploded at my house because now I got 6 beehives that
Don't you?
I got to take care of, and you know they're interesting beyond belief.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's a lot more going on in that beehive than what you would ever suspect.
Right.
But planting something for the pollinators, asters are good, nanstrom, marigolds, bee balm. little grassy looking stuff, but it has a very good smell. Cone flowers, they're very showy. Sunflowers, who don't like sunflowers?
I know the squirrels out there have been eating mine up instead of the birds.
You can get, and there's a lot of varieties of sunflowers. My wife likes the teddy bear sunflowers. Those are smaller ones, but super colorful. Zinnias. I grew zinnias one year, and I attribute this to the microbes.
Okay.
Because I grew them in the same spot. The only thing that's different is I inoculated the soil with a good microbe tea and really took care of it and amended the soil. And the darn things, I swear, they sparkled. I don't know no other way to put that. They were red. The variety was a red one, and they were just, from Home Depot, just regular zinnia seeds. But they sparkled. I was like, oh, my gosh. So I saved those seeds, but I planted them in a different area next year. Guess what? No sparkle.
Interesting.
I was so disappointed. And I thought, I know why. There was something in that soil that caused them to be that brilliant.
Yeah.
Grow that, and they grew clear to October.
Wow.
And the bees went nuts over them.
Yeah, sure.
So plant some for bees. Here's a secondary benefit would be basil, mint, oregano, and thyme. All the things you're going to cook with. Bees love them.
Yeah.
And they're picking up that pollen that's in that stuff. And oregano is a very good antiseptic. So I think they're using that in their hive as a part of their antiseptic.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you're going to pick up a little oregano flavor in your honey, but I do know what they eat is their immune system also.
Okay. All right. I was not aware of that.
So let's look out for the bees.
Okay.
Going back to planting things for your neighbor, planting things for your family. Sometimes you could just make a gift out of this, a little strawberry basket of anything that you can do. If you can go to Lowe's and you can buy a little packet of 6 strawberries, put it in a larger pot, and make a hanging pot for your neighbor, your mama, your mother-in-law. I don't care who it is.
Right.
Sometime during the year, that thing's going to put out strawberries, and they're going to think of you.
Right.
And by then, your garden should be popping, and they're going to come and say something about the strawberries. And then they go see what you're growing, and they're going to want to get interested. And that's how this grows.
Sure.
And I want this to get more down to earth. I want people to really think about their food. When they go to the grocery store, you go, wow, I could have grew this. I can't believe it, but bell peppers is $1.50 a piece. When Glenn over here's got 10 plants with twice as big peppers, more beautiful, and they taste better. I could do that. Well, sure you could. You just gotta have the want to.
Yeah.
Or the incentive. That's about all I have for today.
All right. Well, that's pretty good amount of stuff.
That was a lot of blah, blah. No, it wasn't blah, blah. That was fantastic information.
It was. Glenn, if there's more information that people want to get from you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Go on our Facebook page, Sustainable Living Made Easy with Glenn Boblitz. Drop us a line, add a comment, get the conversation started. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.